All right, let's get this over with. So I got a lot to do.
So, let me tell you a tale. A tale of trains.
I like trains, and I have for about as long as I can remember. If I had to guess where it started, it was probably back when my parents bought me this sick merch. If you're not familiar with Choo Choo Charlie, well, here you go.
Once upon a time there was an engineer. Choo-choo Charlie was his name, we hear. He had an engine and he sure had fun. He's good and plenty candy to make his train run.
Anyway, some years after that photo was taken, my dad got me my very own train set. Although I say got me, as if he went out and bought it. He didn't. He built it from scratch. It was pretty big. It was built on a 4x8 sheet of plywood atop a sturdy 2x4 frame. It had the track already, installed on top of it, and everything that a wide-eyed kid of that age could ever want in a train set. It definitely lit a spark in my brain, a spark fanned into flames by this monster book. Holy cow, I would spend hours poring over this book, looking at all the plans and the wiring diagrams and the photographs of completed builds. From that date forward, on a schedule of about every 5 to 7 years, my brain would get this itch to design the most awesome model train set ever. It would be one of those things that would take over my entire brain for the better part of a week. And then when I got done with it, I would take that idea and I would stuff it into a mental box and put that box in the back of my mental attic and not think about it again for another 5 to 7 years. Astute viewers of my channel will note there is no build the most awesome train model ever on my mind map. That's not an error. I pulled that box out of my mental attic and I set it out on my mental curb, and my mental garbage truck came by and picked it up and took it away years ago. However, that didn't purge my overall interest in trains. In a miserable and unstable world, while dealing with the usual day-to-day stresses of work, life, and family, about 10 years ago or so, I took to watching train videos on YouTube. It was something I could just set up on a side monitor and just have quietly run while I continued to work on the main monitor. And then I could glance over it as needed and reset my brain a bit. This practice of mine eventually turned into a meme amongst some of my friends, to the point where, and I have no idea how this happened, Nicolas Cage entered the picture. And I think we'll just leave that there.
You might be wondering why we're talking about trains.
Wonder no more. The reason trains is the topic of this week's episode is because last week I got to take a ride on one, and it was a doozy. And you're in luck, because in classic Charlie fashion, I took about 12,000 photos and videos of the trip and have edited them into a movie. It looks something like this. I warn you, just like the train cab videos I showed earlier, the video is boring, but maybe like me, that's just what you need right now. So that's all for this week. I will see you next week when it's October. I feel like I was just dumbfounded about it being September like 4 days ago. How can it be October already next week? It's just going too fast, I tell you.
The falling leaves drift by the window. The autumn leaves of red and gold. I see your lips, the summer kisses, the sunburned hands I used to hold.